So I stopped paying my mortgage payment, and then this happened, delinquency notice. Hey everyone, I'm Rinde from AskRinde, where we help with your foreclosure, income, and credit. So yes, I stopped paying the mortgage on one of my properties and I actually went into a forbearance agreement with the bank. And sure enough, after a few weeks, I received this notice in the mail. The notice really says, it says that according to our records, the above referenced mortgage is delinquent. Now on the other, there's another notice, which is my mortgage statement they sent, and it actually says on here that I'm actually due for several months of payment. And it also says here that if your account has been approved for a forbearance plan, your payment is not due until the end of the plan.
If you are calling us today because you received a delinquency letter while you are on a forbearance, please be aware these letters are required to be sent. However, as described in your forbearance agreement, you are not required to make payment during your forbearance period, and there is no need to speak with an agent at this time.
So there's a lot of us that have been getting these notices from the banks. There'd be a lot of people that are alarmed. Some people who are members of the academy have actually asked me regarding it and reached out for help because they're kind of like frightened as to why is it that they feel like they're in a safe situation with a forbearance, but meanwhile they're getting delinquency notice. So I wanted to share this with you guys here. You're not alone. I actually did a forbearance on one of my properties, and this notice came from the servicer. And this goes back to what I was sharing with you guys when this whole dilemma first started. I did say that, remember, when you're doing business with a bank, that's exactly that, is business. There's no handshake agreements in this. There's no I've been doing this for 18 years. There's no such thing as the bank said. The bank has to actually put it in writing and actually be in ink and sent to you where you can verify in writing that that's the agreement. So many people went into forbearance agreements and some banks actually gave them verbal approvals, because it was kind of like blanket. Everyone's showing that they're cooperating with consumers in this hard time that we're going through with the coronavirus and everything that's happening. Thing is that, like I share with you guys in this particular video, that's why you need something like a qualified written request, where you send them the request for forbearance in writing. And what I said in that video was to make sure that you actually send in a letter that I included in that video. I'm going to put a card so you can actually watch that video and reference that letter to send to the bank, because everything that you're doing with the bank is a financial transaction. It's business. So you need to make sure that you're covering yourself. So the question, or the answer to the questions that I've been getting regarding this is, sure enough, like I said from day one, the banks are always covering their tracks. From the time that you buy the property, from the time that you start the entire process, the banks are covering themselves from a legal perspective. So should in case they need to go to court with you or go toe-to-toe with you, they're fully ready, they're fully documented, and they're ready to deal with the courts, because they know that they have to have a paper trail. And so these documents that are being sent, such as the delinquency notice, when you're actually on a forbearance agreement that they approved, however many months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, they're still going to send you delinquency notice. As also, in addition to that, they're also going to show delinquency on your mortgage statement. So just remember that the banks are covering their tracks. So it's important for you to send written correspondence to them, what we call a qualified written request to them, and a qualified written statement to them, stating your position and having it in writing. Send a certified mail and also regular mail, both, and send that to them to be able to keep your paper trail. So should in case things go awry and you need to go to court with them, you can say to the judge, and you say to the courts, look, this is what they agreed to. This is when we started this process, and they sent this and I sent this. They sent this and I sent this. So this is why we have in the free foreclosure forms section, Foreclosure Hacks Academy, forms that are there to help you basically correspond with the bank. Many people, I feel, are exposed right now because there are changes going on where now we're going to, June is next week. And so many people are going to be now having to either face trying to re-up or get an extension, or they're going to face having to actually come up with a lump sum to be able to pay the bank. Now, maybe you're in a situation where you don't really necessarily have an issue, or maybe you do. Majority of our people that we speak to have issues and are going through either a pre-foreclosure status, foreclosure, or trying to avoid the process altogether. They want to get income hacks. They want to figure out what to do going forward because maybe they've lost their job, maybe their industry got wiped out, maybe there's a drastic change. And so what I wanted to share with you is that the way you address this, you have to use a qualified written request. You want to make sure that all the correspondence that comes from the bank, you answer it. Because many times we wait until the last minute and we want to think that, okay, well, when things fall apart, then we answer. You need to also answer the bank. The bank sends you a letter, you send an answer. So that we have an answer letter that's included in the free form section of ForeclosureHacksAcademy. Make sure you download that. So now in this situation where there's a forbearance in place, depending on how long the forbearance that you have, especially loans that are not FHA loans. These are not Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loans. These are just, conventional loans that are not regulated by the government, and therefore they have no backing. They're out there. These loans, such as my mortgage on this particular property, is really just me and the servicer. And the servicer has their what their policies they put forth. And so in a situation like this particular mortgage here, they're taking care of the taxes and insurance. They have to do disbursements. And for however long I'm in that forbearance, they're going to have to cover that. And just as many of you have been experiencing, the bills have been coming in. Look, it's just a few of them. This is not even half. And that's just on, this particular one is on, I think, two properties here. And so, it's kind of like, it puts you in a place where you need to kind of have your ducks in a row, because as things start to open up, this is where we're going to start to see the real truth of what's happening. And in my opinion, from me looking at it, it's going to be a real tight situation for a lot of people, because just the job report just came out and we're at, I think now, 40 million unemployed. Now, doesn't necessarily mean all those people are broke, they don't have money, but the fact is that that's an indication that there's enough people in there where there's an issue. And so either they're not going to have a job to go back to, either their industry is gone. And so that's going to kind of like have a chain effect on everything, because when you're going back to go and get work, you're going to have a lot of competition. And if there are jobs available, they're going to be either taken up quickly. So where do we go from here? Because with all these bills coming in, how do you start to kind of like keep them at bay until you get to a point where you can actually get a job, get income coming in, get things moving again to where you and your family are secure? So I've done a video inside Foreclosure Hacks Academy in our premium section that shows the 10 options that you have to be able to deal with foreclosure right now during this pandemic, during this epidemic that we're facing, with over 100,000 Americans dead, 40 million people and more counting in unemployment, and people already starting to trickle into foreclosure. Those that were in pre-foreclosure, those that are actually queued up to have sheriff sale and auctions, they're kind of like waiting for the courts to open. So I've gotten questions regarding the tsunamis, foreclosure tsunamis, eviction tsunamis, many emails from all over the country, people asking me, what do I think, what's going to happen, what can they do? And I've also created another video that shows 4 ways if you're renting and you're trying to figure out how to avoid eviction and you need help with dealing with eviction. They're warning what's going to happen when the courts open up and when these municipal stays that are put in place to be able to protect them are lifted. Foreclosures, evictions, these moratoriums that have been put in place, what happens when they go? Well, you have to kind of be prepared, and you have to, line yourself up. And that's why when you have all these bills here, stacked up waiting for you, you need to have a plan of how you're going to deal with everything, because life goes on, life continues. You're not going to be able to just sit under the covers and say, well, I can't do anything, or depend, or, cry, because there's going to be a lot of people crying. There are many court cases that are backed up. There are many, the judges are just waiting. I mean, the judges are on standby. They know it's going to be a bloodbath. And so you have to kind of be prepared, put a plan in place, so to speak, so that no matter what happens and whatever fallout there is regarding, whatever your plaintiff is going to do, the person who's suing you for either recovery of the property, or your landlord that's looking to take you to, recover the unit so that they can actually rent it out because they're bleeding. You need to have a plan of action in place. So I've done these 2 videos inside the Foreclosure Hacks Academy premium section. So to answer some of your inquiries regarding whether or not we're going to deal with a foreclosure tsunami and rental tsunami, so to speak, or an eviction tsunami, my position right now is currently that I'll take a position of it remains to be seen. I have to see really what's going to happen, and simply because, from the last market downturn, there were all indications that things should have gone a certain way. And then the REIT stepped in. And these, investment banks stepped in, and they bought a lot of these notes for little on the money, and so things kind of turned around. So between that and the government printing money and constantly just pumping out money that they don't have, there's no collateral, there's no backing up, they're just printing money out of thin air. we'll have to see what happens, you know, with not only the economy, but also specifically the real estate market. Particularly when the real estate market, depending on what these servicers do, that's a crucial decision. If they force homeowners to come up with the money and reinstate or, you know, pay these lump sum months that they are due, then we're looking at a major fallout in the markets. And then on the other hand, if they take all the arrearages and put it on the back end of the loan and don't require them, just like what FHA and Fannie and Freddie is purporting to do, then that is going to be an immediate short-term relief for many of the people coming out of this pandemic. Because truthfully, as we see from the unemployment numbers, that is a high number of people that are unemployed. Now, does it mean that those people are completely unemployed? Because we know that with the CARES Act, there's a lot of, in the PUA fund, there's a lot of self-employed people that are in there. But the fact is that people are still hurting because most people don't have the carryover. They can't leverage themselves for those many months depending on how long things take. So the issue that you have here is that I think that either way, one will be better than the other. So if they take everything to defer it, you're not obligated to make that payment now. You don't have to stress out about it. You can do it on the back end of the loan when you go to sell or refinance. Now, if they insist for people to come up with the money now, then the issue is you're going to see the problems right now, which there's also already some issues because of the number of pre-foreclosures that there were going into this. So it's a big burden on the servicer and the investors. And the ones that are in the private sector, they're going to need to work out something with the government because, like I said, servicers are not banks. They don't have money, so to speak. So if you are going to take a forbearance for however long, maybe a year or 11 months or 10 months, and you're not making that payment, where's the money going to come from to be able to take care of the taxes, take care of the insurance, take care of the investor? So they have to figure out what they're going to do, and I think that that's why you're seeing some of the states, you know, kind of ease things in because there's an adjustment going on with the sheriff's office, the auction proceedings, whether you're in a judicial or non-judicial states. There are communications happening prior to things reopening back up. I can share with you in New Jersey here where there's sheriff sales, we are very closely working with the sheriff's offices and in dialogue with them because we have a lot of clients and cases that we help. And you know, initially they were supposed to try to reopen as per you know, the governor in the middle of June. Now we're hearing it's going to be towards the end of June and possibly in August. So a lot of it is watching what's happening with the remaining cases and if there's any spikes or rises. And at the same time, there's a whole resurgence and a whole reset that has to happen with how things are done regarding how not only the auctions and the sheriff sales and these things are administered, but then also like the process. These processes there's a big backlog that has happened and created in addition to what's waiting to come in, you know. And so with that being said, my take on it is the fact that I think that if there will be a tsunami, it'll be based on the fact that the servicers are forcing people to come with this money in one lump sum. And if they decide to take the cue from, you know, Fannie and defer it, then you'll find that it'll be a relief in a sense that short term. But the issue that you still have here is that when things officially restart, there's going to be a different level playing field for a lot of people, everyone really, because one person might get a job sooner than another. And then one person might be a homeowner that's obligated to make the mortgage payment, and then the other person might be a landlord that's making their payment based on a tenant. So there's so many different household makeups and situations and scenarios, and we just have to kind of like see where it is. This is why you always have to have a plan. You have to have a plan whether you're a homeowner. You have to have a plan whether you're a landlord. You have to have a plan whether you're a renter. And so that's why I created those videos, to be able to share with you not only the 10 ways to be able to deal with foreclosure now, but also the 4 ways to be able to deal with avoiding eviction. There's a way to be able to avoid eviction is you're a tenant and you need help with trying to figure out how to get rental help. You can watch that video. It's inside Foreclosure Hacks Academy. Just go ahead and watch it. And we give you 4 key ways in there to be able to really position yourself so that you can avoid eviction. When the courts open up, there will be many cases. I mean, not only on the foreclosure aspect, but with the eviction, there's many different levels and different setups with that, because there are people who were already on their way in. There are people who just, because of this pandemic, have put them in. And in addition to that, there are going to be many filings from the servicers, because they are now initiating lis pendens on many people. And like I shared before with the forbearances automatically put you in a position that if the agreement that you've entered in with the mortgage servicer and the bank doesn't hold, you're immediately in foreclosure, because they've already got that window of time. They've got you obligated to make that payment, and they've got obligated you in that plan, so to speak. And so the threshold is the 3 months. And if you are past that, which most people are with their forbearances, then you're automatically a candidate for a lis pendens filing, and you go automatically into foreclosure. Depending on what state you are, as we all know, there are different foreclosure timelines in each state. With the exception of Guam, New York, and New Jersey have 12 months. All other states, they all vary. So, you need to know what your foreclosure timeline is in your state. If you want that, we have a glossary inside ForeclosureHacksAcademy. You can see your foreclosure timeline, be able to get an idea of what you can expect, and then also how to also extend the time. Every state, there's possibilities to be able to extend your time past whatever is set. So you have to know how to maneuver that, and we help you to be able to get more time, to buy more time. Sometimes you have a situation where you have to create the time. The state might give you, 6 months or 4 weeks or whatever timeline they give you. You have to create and generate and know how to create time for yourself, so that you can either figure out what you're going to do. If you have time to either try to see if you could do a loan modification, or you want to do some sort of repayment plan, or you want to short sale the property, you want to sell it. Whatever those things are, we want to help you get the time to be able to execute that and do things on your time. With foreclosure, you always want to be able to deal with a foreclosure on your timeline as best as you can. And although you are facing a timeline that's been forecasted for you, that you have to do things by a certain time, you want to make sure that you do as much as possible within the time that you control, until you're in that position where the time is out of your control, where you're not on the bank's time, where you have a date that's pending. And even if you're in those situations, those tough situations, we do help with that. So I just wanted to do this quick video to be able to share with you, really what happened to me. This is exactly what happened to me. I got a delinquency notice that, of course, I'm going to be fully ready to address. But I did get one, and that's actually having been in a qualified forbearance agreement covering my tracks and everything. So you need to know what you're doing. Make sure that you're not exposed. And if you have any questions, we're always available. I also want to invite you to our digital open house, our live session this weekend. We're going to be having more guests come on. Looking forward to opening that up here for us on our primary channel here. We're just looking forward to getting to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So please help us get to that. Please like and share the video, and also ask your friends and family to subscribe. We want to try to help as many people as possible, and we look forward to working with you on this journey to be able to not only make an impact, but to help as many people as possible. So I really appreciate all of you, and I thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Please join us on the live. I'm going to leave a link to where you can actually, we'll be glad to see you there. We're going to be talking about real estate. We're going to be talking about income. We're also going to be talking about credit, our 3 special areas that we cover here on AskRinde, and want to see how we can help you shore up. I do have some keys that I share regarding specifically income and ways to generate income immediately, and that's very important. If you're in a place where you're not sure what to do and you're stuck, then you need to get generating money immediately. There's an exact way to be able to do that, so you can have the best chance of starting to generate money immediately from home. So you need to actually chime in, watch, join us. It's going to be facebook.com/AskRinde, 1 o'clock Saturday. Looking forward to having some guests on as we go along. And once we open up here on YouTube, we'll be having live sessions here specifically for Foreclosure Live. So till the next time, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
Stop.